Hello, today we're going to do another unboxing video. This is for the brand new Marching Machine Commander deck. This one's actually kind of interesting because they brought back the Planechase format, which is pretty fun because of the multiplayer experience and it changes how the game works. So it comes with some Planechase cards in addition to your average Commander deck. So we're going to see what they gave us in here. It's actually much easier to open than the other ones. So we're going to put it in a tray. There's a couple things here. We got these. These are the Planechase cards. We have some collector's boosters. We'll be opening that. We have a deck box. Got one of those good old full deck boxes. Oh, this is one of those tall ones. I actually like this one. This one much. That. There you go. You got a deck box. Looks pretty cool. It's got the commander on it, and yeah. Next we got whatever this is. I don't know what this is supposed to be. It's not a command zone. It's like maybe commander tax. I don't know what this is supposed to be. I guess we'll go for these first, since these are obviously the interesting things. So first we'll open up this collection booster sample, which will give us maybe a card or two. That's pretty cool. I guess we'll see what we get. So here we got two cards. We got a Lenda and Azar. It's a free white blue black. It's a legendary Vampire Knight Sphinx. So it's two creatures. Flying Ward 2, maybe if you try to target it, you have to pay 2, otherwise the source is countered. With your attacks, you can pay X and then the colors, and then if you do draw X cards, if you give you 10 step, you can pay 4 life. And if you do, create a more 1/1 black Vampire Knight creature tokens with lifelink, even one of the cards you draw on this turn. So it's an interesting twist on the card draw mechanic, as normally this is like an is it thing, but the fact this is a different color pie is actually interesting, so it actually rewards you for drawing cards. And they got Ray, Master Smith. So this is a special border version, but this is just an uncommon. But for red and white, you get a 2/2 legendary dwarf artificer, and whenever creature you control that's equipped or enchanted attacks, it gains double strike on the turn. It's a pretty good effect since it allows you to do a lot of damage. And they got these things. I don't know. We got the Planechase cards. Planechase is a format that they used to do a decent amount back then. I didn't think they were going to bring it back, and I'm really excited they did. This is a fun format. So first we have KSA first. So this is a phenomenon. Basically, it acts like a spell card where when you flip it up, you resolve the effect and it goes back in your deck. So KSA first basically says whenever you counter KSA first, each plane roll of the planar dice, which is special dice you roll, will count as the chaos symbol until a player planeswalks from that plane. So basically the next planes you walk into, any blanks you roll basically will count as the chaos symbol, which chaos symbols are special abilities that activate. So like, let's say you went to Jun here, which is a Lara plane, and it's whenever a player casts a creature spell that's either black, red, or green, it gains Devour 5. Devour 5 is a little mechanic where as it enters the battlefield, you sacrifice any amount of creatures and it'll get that many plus counters times 5. So if you sacrifice 5 creatures, it'll get 25 counters. Like, that's pretty good. And then also whenever you roll the chaos symbol, you create 2 1/1 red goblin creature tokens. So that's a pretty good effect since it allows you to give fodder for your ability. And yeah, it's pretty powerful. Next we got Blood Hill Bastion. So this is another plane. And when a creature is battlefield, gains double strike and haste until end turn. And then when you roll chaos, you get to basically blink a non-token creature you control. Basically allows you to give it the double strike and haste, but it's pretty powerful because that allows you to do a lot of damage very quickly. So next we got Karzra Foothills, another plane. Whenever a creature you control attacks a player, for each other opponent, you may create a token that's a copy of that creature, attacking that opponent. And exile those tokens. So basically, it's the mirrored effect. That's basically what it's giving your creatures. And if you roll the chaos symbol, you may sacrifice a number of creatures. And then this will do that much damage to target creature. So basically, it allows you to make a bunch of temporary tokens that are attacking each opponent, which Commander is pretty powerful. and they can use those tokens to hurl some damage around. And then you have Grove of the Dream Pods. So this is another plane. Whenever you planeswalk 2, which basically means whenever this comes into play, and at the beginning of your upkeep, your cards top of your library, you hit a creature card, put that creature's battlefield, and the rest of your library random order. Whenever you roll the chaos symbol, you basically get to return a creature from your graveyard to play. It's pretty powerful, since this can very quickly get out of hand. Since, yeah, it just give you all types of creatures. Next you got Mega Floor Jungle. This is another plane. Each creature with mana value 2 or less goes ++2, so that will include tokens. Also, when you roll the chaos symbol, you create a 1/1 green insect creature token with flying named Butterfly. This allows you to make some tokens, and then also makes the small creatures bigger. Pretty cool. Next you got Riptide Island. This is another plane, so whenever you planeswalk to Riptide Island at the beginning of your upkeep, you create 2 1/1 colors silver creature tokens, and whenever you roll the chaos symbol, silvers you control gain haste and gain +X on turn. X is number of silvers you control. So obviously this card just slivers, but it's also got a token theme. They got the Great Airy. So whenever you planeswalk to the Great Area at the beginning of your upkeep, you bolster free, which basically choose the creature with the least toughness among your creatures, and then put free plus counters. When you roll Chaos, you get to choose the one target creature you control, not the one target creature opponent controls, and they basically get to fight each other, except they use their toughness. So that's kind of interesting, since it kind of evokes like a weird fight effect, but also lets you make your creatures bigger. Pretty cool. Next you got the Golden Sea of Araska. So this actually has Ascend, which is kind of interesting. So basically, if you have 10 or more permanents, you get the Sea's Blessing for the rest of the game. So I'm going to assume everyone's going to get the Sea's Blessing, basically. Or one or more token creatures you control, those come to a play, you get to create a treasure, and then draw a card if you have the Sea's Blessing. And whenever you roll Chaos, you get to put a permanent card from your hand to the battlefield tapped. So this allows you to draw a bunch of cards while also creating treasures. It just gives you a lot of value. It's pretty good. Next you got Towaski, which is another plane. So modify creature control trample, and whenever they deal counter damage from player planeswalk, you get to draw a card. Note modify means equipped, RRs, and then counters. If you roll Chaos, you distribute free plus counters among 1, 2, or free target creature. This is how it gives counters among. They actually have changed the planes. The Planechase rules a little bit, where they want you to play with, every button comes with 10 cards of a plane deck and basically combine them together to make like a 40 card deck, which is interesting. I don't know if players are going to be doing that though, to be honest with you. So then we got the dice counter, you know, just lets you roll the dice. It's pretty cool. I got all these little inserts. There it is. I'll show you that in a second. This is just one of those little guides they give you. Give you a little background on the plane. This one's a little sticky. And then the deck itself, which is pretty cool. It also shows you how to play Planechase. Fantastic. You also have the plane dice. So the plane dice you need to play chain with. So there's 6 sides in this dice. 4 of the 6 sides are blank, meaning if you roll, nothing happens. If you roll the chaos symbol, you get to use the ability on the planes that you have. And then the planeswalker symbol basically means you Planechase, you get to planeswalk to the next area. And note all these planes will affect all players in the game, so it does have a drastic impact on the game. It could really shift the tide of games in an instant. And basically, every turn as a sorcery, on your turn you can roll the dice for X amount of mana or X amount of times you roll the dice previously that turn. So you get 1 free roll every turn, and then every roll after that will cost an additional colorless mana. So you can either roll as much as you want, or you don't have to. It's just optional. But usually, players will just kind of spend their extra mana lying around. So while there is Planechase, obviously this is still a Commander product. You can play Commander and Planechase together, and that creates a chaos environment, but it's really fun. So the Commander for this deck is Bright Palm Soul Awakener. So for 1 red, green, and a white, you get a 4 free legendary Fox Samurai with backup. So when it's battlefield, it lets you put a scout on another creature. And then if you choose another creature, it gains the abilities until end of turn. So if it attacks, you get the double amount of counters on target creature, and it can't be blocked with creatures with power 2 or less this turn. This allows you to make. This allows you to do some counter shenanigans with tokens and stuff, but also on big creatures, since it'll basically not only gain double its power, but effectively be unblockable, so you can't be chump blocked. Another commander you can play is Salhili and Hauler. So for 1 white, green, white, you get a free legendary Angel Elf, Flight and Vigilance. When one of Warple's counters are put on a creature you control, Salhili and Hauler do that much damage to target opponent. It's an okay ability, I mean, honestly, but it is pretty cool the fact that it counts for any creature. So it can the damage can start adding up really quickly. And we're right into the lands. Command Tower, fantastic land, obviously. You got Commander's Spear, free cost, artifact, gives 1 mana of any color, Commander's color identity. And then you can sacrifice Commander's Spear anytime to draw a card. It's always a great card, just about in any deck. Since this can be a mana rock early, and then later on you can sacrifice for the card. They have good old Cultivate, 1 green, Sorcery, search for 2 basics, 1 goes to play tap, the other goes into your hand. Just a great ramp card altogether. It's probably one of the most played cards in EDH. Next you got Evolving Wilds, a brand new art. This is interesting. So Evolving Wilds, just a land you can sacrifice to put a basic land from your deck into play tapped. There's like 10 different arts of this now, but I think this one looks interesting. It's like a castle and stuff. That's pretty cool. Next you get Fertilid. So for 2 and a green you get a 0/0 elemental. By comes with those counters, you could also pay 1 green, move a counter from Fertilid, target player search life for a basic land, on the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. There's some combos you can do with Fertilid. I don't know if there's any in this deck specifically, but there are some 2-card combos that allow you to just start searching your deck for land. Fractured Power Stone. This is a Planechase card, so the original product that came out was actually they had these special decks made for Planechase, and so you got cards like this that involve Planechasing. Same way, it's a 2-mana artifact. It lets you tap to add colors, but the special ability is that you can tap it to roll the planar dice, but you can only activate the sorcery. So basically, it lets you get extra rolls every turn for free, or you can just use it as an okay mana rock. It's fine, honestly. I think every deck probably got that with its colors. Next, you got Kadama's Reach. So it's for 2 and a green. It's searches for 2 basics. 1 goes to the play, the other 1 goes to your hand. It's basically the same way as Cultivate, except it's arcane, which I don't know if it's gonna come in this deck. I doubt it, but there's some small arcane synergy. Next, you get Pathfinder. That's interesting. So there's a battlefield tap. You can tap it for 1 mana of any color of commander's color identity. But if you use it to cast a creature that shares your commander's type, you could describe one, which that's Fox Shaman. Those are 2 interesting creature types. I don't know if there's going to be Fox in here. There might be some Shamans. Then you got Pride Malkin. So for 2 and a green, you get a 2/1 cat. When there's a battlefield, you build a counter a creature control. Each of your creatures with counters on them have trample. This is a good ability in counter deck, since now it doesn't give you a counter when it enters, but it gives all your creatures with counters trample, which can allow them to go for a lot of damage. Next, you got Return to Nature. So for 1 green, you get an instant. You can choose 1, destroy an artifact, an enchantment, or exile a card from the graveyard. Those are all situationally useful abilities, but the fact that it's mobile makes it pretty decent. Then you got Terror Expanse. It's basically just Evolving Wilds, but a different name, so I'm not going to be going that ability again. Next you got Wood Elves. So for 2 and a green, you got a 1/1 Elf Scout. When there's the battlefield, you search your life for a forest card, put into play untapped, and then shuffle. That's a pretty fantastic card in Commander, since it's a good ramp card, and this can also search some of the dual lands and stuff, which is pretty cool. Next, you got Abzan Battle Priest. 3 and a white, you get a free 2. Human Clerk with Outlast, so you can pay a white and tap this creature to put its counter on it as a sorcery, and it gives all your creatures counters lifelinks. There was a whole cycle of this in, I think it was Fate Reforged, I think. But they all have Outlast, and they also give your creatures abilities, so I don't know how many they put in here, because this one's probably one of the better ones. Next, you got Abzan Falconer. So for 2 and a white, you get a 2 free Human Soldier, has Outlast for 1. and then each of your creatures plus counter on it have flying. That's actually a pretty good ability by itself. They got Harlow, Psalm Ritualist. So for 4 and a white, you get a free legendary human monk. Whereas Battlefield lets you put a plus counter on each on up to 2 other creatures, and where a non-token creature control dies or encounter, you get to create a 1/1 white spirit. There's also his partner. I don't know if there's any other partners in here, but that's interesting. So it's pretty cool. It just lets you put counters on your creatures, but more importantly, if they die while they have counters, they get to turn to spirits, which is a pretty powerful ability. Next we got Arcane Signet. 2 mana, artifact, it gets you a mana free of your color's identity. It's just a good mana ramp. You got Armor Crack Dodge. Once I expend that here. So, free to green, you get a free Elf Artificer, and what's the value? You get to draw a card for each creature you control with a counter on it. It's a little expensive, but if you have a lot of creature counters in it, this can draw you a lot of cards, so that's really good. Actually, you got Brawn. Ooh. This is one of the incarnations. So for free to green, it's a free incarnation with trample. As long as in your graveyard and you control force, your creatures have trample. It's a pretty powerful ability since it basically lingers while in the graveyard and it's permanent. It's very hard to deal with, obviously, since it's not a field effect. But that's pretty good in this deck. Next you got Regard Stormhold. So it's a landers battlefield tap. You can tap it for a green, or you can pay a green and double white and tap, sacrifice it to put a scar on each up to 2 target creature control, and it gain vigilance and lifelink until end of turn, but you can only activate sorcery. It's a pretty good ability to let you not only distribute some counters, but it lets you give them vigilance and lifelink, which is pretty powerful. It's got Conclave Mentor. So for green and a white, you get a 2/2 Centaur Cleric. Okay. One or more plus counters would be put on a creature you control. That may plus 1 more are put into instead. And then when it dies, you gain life into its power. So that first ability is extremely powerful since it lets you put extra counters on your creatures. The last ability, it's decent. I guess if you put a lot of counters on this creature specifically, then this could be pretty powerful. Otherwise, it's probably just going to give you a little bit of life. Next, you got Constable of the Realm. So for 4 and a white, you get a free giant soldier with Reown 2. So basically, if it deals combat damage to a player, if it's not Reown, it gets 2 plus counters and becomes Reown. And then one or more plus counters are put into Constable of the Relic. You basically get to exile a permanent until it leaves until this card leaves play, which is pretty powerful. So you get Elite Scale Guard. 4 and a white, you get a 2 free human soldier with his battlefield Polster 2. Every creature you control plus counters on it attacks, you get to tap a creature that player controls. So this allows you to remove blockers on the way while swinging for damage. Then you got Enduring Scale Lord. So for 4 green white, you get a 4/4 dragon with flying, and whatever more plus counters I put in a creature you control, you can put a counter on the Scale Lord. So it allows you to distribute counters while also making him this big. Then you got Falcon Wrath Exterminator. 1 red, you get a 1/1 Vampire Archer. Okay. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, puts a counter on it, and then you can pay 2 red to have it deal damage to target creature, even more plus counters on the Exterminator. It's an okay card. It requires a lot of set for us to be powerful, but once it gets there, it's pretty good. Then you got Field of Ruin. This can tap for colors, or you can pay 2 and tap, sacrifice it to destroy a non-basic land opponent controls, but then each player gets to search for a basic land and put into play untapped. It's a pretty good land destruction ability. Generous Gift. 2 and a white for an instant. It destroys a permanent, but then replaces it with an elephant. It's one of the better roll spells in the format, so it's great that they printed it here. Next up, we got the Good Fortune Unicorn. So for 4 green, white, you get a 2/2 unicorn. Whenever another creature enters battlefield control, plus a counter on that creature. That's pretty powerful since it allows them to always have a counter. And your counter synergies are just so much better. Next, you got Hamazon, Guardian of Azerin. So for 4 green, white, you get a 5/5 legendary elephant warrior. And this costs 1 less for each creature you control with a counter on it. And then makes your creature spells you cast cost 1 less cast for each creature you control with one counter. That's a pretty powerful ability since it allows you to get a lot of creatures very quickly, and then start just making your creature spells super cheap. Next, you got Jeff Greeter's Champion. For 3 For 2 and a red, you get a 2/1 human warrior. Has dash, so you can pay 3 and a red to basically put this in the battlefield for the cost, and it'll gain haste, but it'll go the other's hand at the end of the turn. And then has the backup mechanic and then double strike, so it deals damage twice. That's pretty powerful. Let's get Uncivil Unrest. So for 4 and a red, you get an enchantment that gives your non-token creatures riots. They either come with going counter or haste. It's your choice. And then with a creature plus counter, we do damage to a permanent player, deals double the damage. That's a pretty powerful ability, the second one. Especially with that Falcon Wrath guy. Next you got Icar Elixir. So for Mega, an artifact, you can roll one or more planar dice instead of roll that many +1, ignore 1. Okay, it's another new Planechase ability, but also can tap for 2 colors. That's pretty cool for this format. It's not only decent mana rock, but it can roll the planar dice multiple times for you. Let's get Mirror Style Master. For 4 double red, you get a Human Warrior, free with backup. And whenever this creature attacks, for each modified creature you control, create a tapped copy that comes at attacking, but it's exiled the icon. So basically lets you make extra copies of creatures, and that's a pretty powerful ability. Next you got Guardian Scale Lord. So for 4 and a white, you get a free 4 dragon with backup 1. Flying, and with her attacks, you can bring back a non-land permanent with mana value X or less when you give her to the battlefield. X is this creature's power. So this can eventually just turn to when this creature attacks, bring back a non-land permanent, which is pretty powerful. And that can easily take over the game. Next we got Emergent Worm. So for 6 and a green, you get a 4/4 worm with backup free. And for your creature attacks, you have to look at the top X card you library, X's power. You can put a permanent with mana value X or less onto the battlefield, and the rest goes to the bottom of your library. So that's pretty good letting you cheating cards into play. Next you get Path of the Pyromancer. 4 and a red for sorcery. You discard your hand, and then you get to add a red mana for each card discarded, and then draw that many +1. Also has Will the Planeswalkers. So each player here vote from Planeswalk or Chaos. If Planeswalk gets more votes, then you get the Planeswalk. If Chaos gets more votes, or the vote is tied, you get the Chaos ability, what's going on. Another cool Planeswalk ability, even by itself, is actually a pretty decent card. It lets you not only get a bunch of red mana, but it lets you draw some cards. Next you got Conclave Siege Liege Captain. 5 and a green for an Elephant Soldier with backup 1, backup 1, backup 1. That's funny. Has Trample, and whenever it deals counters to a player, but no, it puts counters on it. Next you got Colonial Hydra. Ooh, this one's pretty good. So for 3 and a double green, you get a 0/0 Hydra. Boom, enters battlefield for counters, and whenever it attacks, it gets double amount of counters on each creature control. That's a pretty powerful ability. It can easily just run away with the game if not dealt with. Then you got Planechase the Lunarch. For X and a white, you get a 0/0 legendary human cleric. Enters with X plus counters. You can tap to put a counter in Planechase, or you can tap to remove a counter from Planechase to put a counter against your other creatures. So it lets you make one big guy, or make all of your guys big. It's pretty good in your way. You got Kami Vista. This can tap for 2 colors, but it comes in tap unless you control 2 more basics. That's not hard to do. Next you got Champion of Landhold. 1 a double green, you get a 1/1 Human Warrior. Creatures with less power than this can't block creature control. And whenever another creature's battlefield, control plus counter on the champion. It's a pretty powerful card, since if it gets big enough, it'll just make all your creatures unblockable, which most time in like a turn or two, you can probably just end just about anyone. Cinderglade, it's like the other land, but this one stands for red and green instead of green-white. Next you have Dramoka's Command. So for a green and white, an instant lets you choose to prevent all damage target instant or sorcery would deal this turn. Target player sacrifices an enchantment, blows a counter on target creature, or target creature control fights another creature. So all these effects are pretty niche, but the fact there's a multiple card means you always have the best situation for each effect. Then you have Exotic Orchard. This just lets you get a land from any one of your opponent's lands they could produce. Just a good one. Next you have Flame Rush Rider. 4 and a red, you get a free Human Warrior, and whenever it attacks, you get to create a copy of another attacking creature. but it will exile at the end of combat. It also has dash for 2 and double red, so it lets you come in, maybe make some tokens, and then yeah. And speaking of tokens, Flame Shadow Conjuring. For free to red, you get an enchantment that says whenever a non-token creature spell for your control, you could pay a white to make a temporary copy of the token. They'll come with haste, but it's exiled at the end of the turn, which is pretty powerful. Lets you get double the entry battlefield triggers, and then lets you swim with it. Forgot Ancient. 3 and a green for a 0 free elemental. Or if a player casts a spell, you can put a counter on Forgot Ancient. Yeah, if you upkeep, you can move counters from the Ancient to one of your other creatures. So that's pretty powerful since it can make itself really huge, but also lets you move around the counters how you wish, which is a pretty good ability. You also have a Fortified Village, which can come in tapped, or you can reveal Forest or Plains in your hand to make it come untapped. So that's a pretty powerful ability, since that's not really high cost early in the game. Then you got Furry Claim Snarl and Game Trail. They're basically the exact same, but they tap for different sets of colors. Then you got Gavany Township. This one's actually a pretty good land in this deck. It's capped for colors, but you can also pay 2 green and a white and tap and a putable scout on each creature you control. That's obviously a pretty powerful ability here, since it lets you distribute counters like crazy. Then you got Genesis Hydra. X and double green for 0/0 play Hydra. When you cast a spell, you flip the top X card of your library, and you can put a non-land card for a month with mana value X or less onto the battlefield, and the rest goes back to the library. And it also comes in with X plus counters. So basically, it's like a mini cascade effect, except it has to be determined by the X value. Then you have Gyre Sage. So for 1 green, you get a 1/2 Elf Druid. Has evolved, so if another creature enters battlefield your control, if it has more power toughness than this one, then this creature puts a counter. Also, you can tap it at a mana for each counter on Gyre Sage. Pretty fantastic mana rock here, as it'll get counters naturally, but also can count for things of your others. Next, you have Heaven and Earth. This is one of the split cards of Amonkhet. So the top half is Heaven, so for X and a red, you get an instant. Heaven deals X damage to each creature with flying, so most of the time it's going to be a low value since the creatures are going to be smaller. And then you have the Aftermath half, which can be cast from your graveyard, and then you exile. And this part is called Earth. So for X and double red, you get a sorcery that lets you do X damage to each creature while flying. So obviously this can be a pseudo board wipe if you're able to cast both halves in one turn. Though most of the time this is going to be like you cast Heaven early, and then you cast Earth later. That's most of the time what's going to happen. I like these dual cards. They're pretty cool. Next you got Hide Sentinels of Harassin. Free and a white, you get a free 4 Bird Soldier with flying. And it gets +1 for each creature you control. Scout on it. You can also pay free and a white plus counter on target creature. This can get pretty big pretty quickly, and it's going to get really out of hand. Next you get Incubation Druid. For 1 green, you get a 0/2 Elf Druid. This can tap for any type of mana that you can produce, but if it has a counter on it, you get to add free mana instead, and then has free and double green for tap free. So if it has no counters on it, you get to put free plus counters on this creature. It's a pretty fantastic mana rock in any counter deck, so I'm happy to see here. Next, you got Inspiration of Abundance. For 1 and a green, you get an instant, which has Kicker, 2 and a green, which means you choose one, but the spell's kicked. You can choose any number instead. You can put 2 counters on a target creature. Target player gains X life for X is the greatest power among creatures they control. Or target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. All these modes are okay. I think probably the second and last mode are probably the best. The first one is Next card is Iron Storms. 2 and a red, you get a enchantment, which you can pay 1 to red, remove a counter or a charge counter from permanent you control. Iron Storm deals 2 damage to a target. So it's an interesting card since it gives you an ability to use your plus counters and would convert it into damage. It's actually a pretty good ability. Next we have Keswick Wolffront. So it's a land and can tap for colors, or you can pay X, red, and green and tap to give target creature +X/+0 and trample in a turn. So this allows you to give him a ton of power and just let him to do a lot of damage. Next we have Franco 10th Street Kingspin with brand new art. So for 2 and a red, he's a 1/2 legendary goblin. Whenever he attacks, you put a scout on him, and then you make a number of 1/1 goblins equal to his power. So over the course of the game, if you continuously swing with this thing, not only will it get bigger over time, but you'll be making more and more goblins, which can get pretty out of hand. Next we have, of course, Mana Gorger Hydra. 2 in a green, you get a 1/1 Hydra with Trample, but anytime any player casts a spell, will just counter Mana Gorger Hydra. Obviously, this is one of the big threats early in the game. As well, it starts out very weak. If it's not dealt with right away, most of the time it will run away with the game, so you have to watch it. Next we have Mossfire Valley. This is a land you can pay 1 and tap to add a red and green to. These banners are okay, I guess. Next you have Mossfire Bridge, which is one of the highway lands, so ETB, look top 4, exile 1 face down, the rest goes to Modern Library. The center's tap, can tap for a green, or you could pay a green and tap it to play you can play the exile card. If the amount of power you control is 10 or greater, which is not too difficult to do. It's easily the easiest one to do. Next you have Restoration Angel. Free and away, you get a free 4 angel with flash and flying, and then it lets you blink a non-angel creature when it enters the battlefield. This allows you to reuse into the battlefield effects, but also get rid of tokens, so there's a lot of things you can do for it. It's got Rishkar, Prima Renegades for 2, and a green you get a legendary elf druid. When it's the battlefield, you put this counter on up to 2 target creatures. It does not say other, so you can target itself. It also gives all your creatures with a counter on it the ability to tap for green mana. It's a fantastic card in any counter deck, since not only does it distribute counters, but it turns them into mana rocks for you. Next you have Semester's End. Free and a white for an instant lets you exile a number of target creatures and or planeswalkers you control. And at the end of the beginning next end step, you return them to the battlefield with additional Blizzard's counter on them or a loyalty counter. So it allows you to dodge board wipes and stuff and get them all back, but they're even stronger. Next we got Stronic Resonator. 2, you get an artifact that can pay 2 and tap to copy a triggered ability. Choose new target. This is a good card in general since copying triggered abilities is pretty powerful. Next you have Sungrass Prairie. This is just like the Mossfire Valley, except this one's for Selesnya colors. Then you have Sunscorched Region, so for free and double white, you have a 4 free dragon with flying. But whenever an opponent casts a spell, you pose a counter on Sunscorch and gain 1 life. So it's a pretty good ability. It can get really big over the course of the game. Next you have Temple of Abandon. This is one of the Scry lands. This is for Gruul colors. Temple of Plenty. This is the Selesnya version. Temple of Triumph. This is the Boros version. Then you have Together Forever, so it's a double white for an enchantment which is battlefield support 2. It allows you to put a opponent's counter up to 2 target creatures, and then you can pay 1 to choose a creature with a counter on it, and if it dies this turn it goes back to the owner's hand. So it allows you to recur your creatures over and over, as long as they have counters on it. Next you get Treskillion. So for 6, you get an Artifact Construct, 1/1. Comes in with free those counters, but you can move a counter from it to do 1 damage to turn. So it's basically like a budget Walking Ballista, which is, it's okay. But obviously I think Walking Ballista would have been a lot better here. Let's get Hinder Vines. 2 in a green, you get a instant preventable combat damage dealt by creatures with no Blizzard counters on them. It's kind of specific fog, but it's meant to like prevent all your opponent's creatures from doing that while your creatures are fine. And you have Inspiring Call. 2 in a green for instant, lets you draw a card for each creature you control with scar on it. Also, they gain Indestructible. So that's a very powerful ability. It lets you protect yourself from board wipes. Also giving you a lot of cards. Then you have Jungle Shrine. This is a tri-land for the 3 colors. So it taps for any color, but it does come to play tap. They have Jupiter, Order Ranger. Free, green, white, a 2/4 Human Knight Ranger. And whenever creature is the battlefield you control, plus counter on that creature and plus counter on the ranger. So it allows you to make your other creatures bigger while also making himself bigger. You have Frozen Verge. So enters battlefield tap, you can tap for a colorless, or you can pay 2 and tap to sacrifice it. Search for your forest and a plains card, put them play tap and then shuffle. This is like a double fetch, but it's pretty slow and mana intensive, so yeah, it's kind of mediocre. It's got Llanowar Reborn. So, enters battlefield tap, taps for a green, but it's graph 1. So, enters the battlefield with a counter on it, and whenever creature enters the battlefield, you can move a 1/1 counter from this land to it. That's an interesting ability, since It basically gives you a free counter whenever you want, which could be really useful even later in the game. Next, you got Mindless Automaton. So for 4 mana, you get an Artifact Construct 0/0. Comes in with 2 puzzle counters. You could pay 1, discard a card, puzzle counter on the Automaton, or you can remove 2 counters from it to just draw a card. You use an instant speed as many times as you have counters, which is pretty fantastic. Next, you have Rogue's Passage. This is just a colorless land that can tap for colorless, or you can pay 4 and tap to make target creature unblockable this turn, which is pretty powerful. Next, you got Slurk All Ingesting. So for 5 and a green, you get a 0/0 legendary ooze. Comes in with 5 counters. And whenever Slurk or another creature you control dies, if it has a 1/1 counter on it, you put a counter on each creature you control that has a 1/1 counter on it. It also has Partner. I don't know if that's going to come up in here, but that's pretty useful. Next, you got Soul Rain, just the good old Soul Rain mana rock, taps for double. You know what it does. Native Source Plowshare, fantastic removal. White can exile a creature instant speed, but then gives them life with its power. Double Default's gone the old art. It's an okay land. It could basically tap for double colorless, but you have to have 5 more lands, which makes it kind of situational. And then we have basic lands, so we have 5 plains, 2 mountains, and 6 forests. I actually like this art. So then we get the special version of the commander where it's a really thick. I don't know what the deal with this. And then we got tokens. So we got spirits with some treasure, a couple of goblins, which then goes to slivers, an elephant, the city's blessing, some butterflies, and then for some reason more city's blessing, and then you get so that's the deck. It's an interesting deck to say the least. But I think we've been seeing the puzzle counter theme a lot recently, so it does seem like it's not the most original, but I do like where this one is going. So yeah, thanks for watching, and hope to see you next video.